hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
Matteau swoops in to intercept. Matteau behind the net. Swings it in front. He's down! Matteau! 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 Stefan Matteau! And the Rangers have one more hell of a time, baby! Curry way down top. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
Welcome, everyone, to the fourth episode of the Agent Field podcast. I am your host, Ryan Lessman. It's a special episode. We are first time live here on Wednesday, 4/13. I am joined by four-time recurring guests, Brian and Anthony. How you doing on this fourth time occasion?
So we are going to count episodes and appearances. I'm so glad that's going to continue.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that either.
Don't worry, there will be a tracking document. We are also joined by first-time guest on the Agents of Field podcast, hailing all the way from Ontario, Canada, Miss Kara Sparman. Kara, how you doing?
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Doing well.
Are you from Ontario? Did he get that right?
I live in Ontario. Yeah, I'm from Vancouver, but
Darn, I was hoping he got it wrong. Okay.
Ryan knows more about this area probably than I do, given all of the hockey players that come out of here. So
Yeah, but Brian doesn't know where anybody lives.
Yeah, Brian knew my name was Ryan and my Ranger fan and still asked me where I was from. So,
No, it was the same person.
Kara, first-time guest, tell us a little bit about your fandoms. What sports teams or players are you a fan of?
well, I am first and foremost a Seattle Seahawks fan. I grew up, like I said, in Vancouver, so they were my home team. I've gone through a lot of very terrible years and a lot of very great years. I am an adjacent Maple Leafs and Blue Jays fan now that I live in the Toronto area, and I have members of my family who are very into that stuff. I have left the Vancouver Canucks behind in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. If my brother-in-law could hear me right now, which maybe he is, he'll be very proud of me for saying that.
Fair-weathered fan.
Toronto Blue Jays, going to have a great year. Toronto Maple Leafs not making it out of the first round again.
Seems about right. Sounds right.
So we will be joined a little bit later by our very special guest, Mr. Xavier Scruggs will be joining us later tonight. But in the meantime, we're going to get started with some news. With Xavier, we'll be talking about some diversity, equity, and inclusion, an extremely important topic. So we're really looking forward to that conversation with him. So we will start off the news segment. The World Cup of Hockey, which returned in 2018, I believe, 2016, somewhere around there, is returning in 2024. It's going to be really exciting. There is no more Team Europe or Team North America. All countries are going to be playing. Super exciting. It's going to basically be replacing the Olympics at this point. It's going to happen in February. What does a World Cup of Hockey do for the sport of hockey? Brian, Anthony, Kara.
Why can't they just play in the Olympics? I don't understand. Like, I think Olympic hockey gets you to tune into other Olympic events. If it's as competitive as Olympic hockey was, then I'm in. But if a bunch of dudes just aren't going to play, then I'm not in. The Olympics hockey this year was unwatchable. Women's hockey was awesome. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. Like Brian said, I mean, this year it was a great opportunity for a lot of players who wouldn't have had the chance if the NHL was involved in the Olympics. But I mean, it still just wasn't great to watch. I mean, if you don't have the big names out there in the NHL to, get people to watch, then people aren't going to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a way for the NHL to control this. The NHL's biggest issue with this all along has been that when the players go to the Olympics, they don't get to control it. They can go and get hurt, and then they're out for the season, and they had no control over it. And especially this past year with all the restrictions regarding quarantines and things like that and travel, it just wasn't doable this year. but the NHL just wants to have control of it ultimately and make the money off of it rather than, the Olympics making the money.
So I was gonna say, it's all financial, right? Like, what other control does the NHL have? Like, a guy's gonna play, he's gonna get hurt. It's gonna happen whether it's NHL controlled or not. So it's all about just revenue, right?
Right, but then the NHL, if they're playing in North America, they can keep it to the regulation North American size ice rinks versus the Olympic size ice rinks, which are bigger.
Yeah.
And when you're skating farther, you get more fatigued, all that good stuff. But it's going to be really exciting. All the best players should be playing in that, and it's going to be really good for the game of hockey internationally. We have some people here in the comments. Just want to call out Sarah is here. Jalen is here.
Most importantly, Ryan, our special guest Xavier is here. So I'm going to bring him into the studio and we can get talking to Xavier.
Awesome. Hello, Xavier.
Hey,
how are you doing?
On? How's everybody doing?
Doing
how you doing?
Well.
Doing good. I'm doing good over here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do a little intro on our very special guest here, and then we're going to get right started with this very important discussion. So Xavier Scruggs was drafted in 2008 by the St. Louis Cardinals after a 3-year college career playing at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He then went on to play in the MLB for both the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins. He left the States and went to play for 2 years with the NC Dinos in the KBO League in South Korea. He was then named as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Consultant in the Cardinals organization in May of 2001. You can also find him as an analyst on Bally Sports, covering the Tampa Bay Rays, ESPN, MLB Network Radio, and on the new MLB Network afternoon show Monday through Friday, Off Base. Welcome to our show, Xavier.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a great introduction. Still can't believe I get the opportunity to do all those things. So it's really special for me, and appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to want me. So I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be an awesome conversation, and also just a really important conversation. So I'm going to let Kara start here. She's got some really good questions to ask. So Kara, why don't you get us started, excuse me.
Awesome. Well, first of all, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I was listening to one of your interviews on Rachel Bedell's podcast the other day, and I feel like we have a lot to talk about, a lot in common, but I will have to shrink it down to sports. Otherwise, these guys will never have me back on.
No. You can ask anything you want to ask. It's all good. Well, I can't speak for Xavier, but
yeah, I'm an open book, so ask me whatever.
I will start by saying, so you've talked quite a bit about helping players find identity and purpose off the field. This is something that has been interesting to me in my studies. And I'm just wondering some of the ways that you help players locate identity, purpose, help build that up, because I know that's something that's not necessarily championed in the chase to get into the professional leagues.
Right. No, I think that's a great question. It's something that I've always been extremely passionate about. It's something that kind of my parents really instilled in me at a younger age, kind of always thinking about, okay, well, what happens if there's no baseball, right? What happens if there's no sports? What am I going to do? So that was always something that I thought about, and not necessarily so much of a backup plan, but there's always a day when sports is over. So you want to be able, as an athlete, to be able to transition into doing something else. So for me, when I talk to athletes, and I have a business called Xtraordinary Athletes, in which we help athletes understand how to find that identity outside of playing their sport, how to have success outside of their sport. It stems with what you like to do besides playing your sport, right? What are some of those things that interest you? What are some of those things that you're good at? What are some of those things that your friends or your family or your mentors tell you that you're good at besides just playing the sport? And really kind of dive into some of those things and ask yourself questions about, what do I see myself doing 10, 15, 20 years down the line? Those are a lot of the things that I start off with when I try to help develop players to understand what that success could look like off of the field. But then not just that, like also community wise? Like, what can you be doing within your community that's going to help evolve you as a person? Like, a lot of times we think about, especially as athletes, like, what can I get from this person, or what can this person provide me, instead of like, what can I give to other people? And I think once we kind of change that mindset as athletes and as people in general, that makes everything with us better. That makes the people around us better. That makes our situation better. So those are a lot of the things that I start off with as far as a foundation for helping athletes understand that.
Yeah, there's a lot of science actually behind when you help somebody else, it really helps your own mental health. But you touched on something that's really interesting. You said that listen to what your friends and family are saying that you're good at, which I think is it's a really good thing to tell them, because sometimes when you're so hyper focused on something, you have no idea what else you're interested in or good at. And having those people in your life, having that kind of a social network that you can count on, that can speak positively into your life and kind of help you grow, and hey, you're really good at this, let me encourage you in that, is really that's really important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, as athletes, and especially as men, like, we have this ego thing that allows us to almost not want to ask other people for help or ask other people questions. Right. Like, we're so focused on what we think we can be good at, instead of like, hey, what can I work on, or what are some of my weaknesses, or what are some of my strengths that I should continue to help develop. And I think once we kind of get out of that comfort zone, that helps us really learn more about ourselves and learn more about how we can better ourselves. So for me, it's almost about like breaking that bubble, that barrier that allows us to say, okay, I can't do everything on my own. I need other people. That support system that you mentioned, I need that around me.
You talk about you were brought on as a consultant for the Cardinals, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Are you still in that position? Before I ask the next part?
Yeah, no, this year I'm not currently in that position, mainly because now I work for the Tampa Bay Rays for Bally Sports. So there's kind of like that what do you call it, conflict of interest there with the two different teams.
Yeah, really, really good teams that part of it too.
But still a role that I was excited about, and an amazing opportunity for me last year to dive into that with the organization. And I'm hoping that there's some way that we can figure out something in the future for us to continue that relationship.
So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that consultant role that you were doing, a lot of people would take that at face value of going, why would Major League Baseball need to be more diverse, equitable, and inclusive? Because a lot of the league is very diverse. A lot of the players are from Latin American countries, African Americans. There's a whole bunch of different people that make up the diverse, but the diversity that you guys were looking for stretched far more beyond the field, because whoever has talent has talent. That is what it is. But it's far more about management positions, whether it be in the front office or in the clubhouse, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times when we think about diversity, equity, inclusion, a lot of times we immediately think like race, right? Instead of, if we kind of change the mindset of things, it's how people feel that they can be valued, right? How can somebody feel like they can be themselves in a specific environment? It doesn't matter what race, what ethnicity, gender, all of those types of things. Just as a person, you want to feel valued. And how can we do that for everybody that's involved? And how can we teach players, coaches, staff, everybody involved to help one another? And I think that's one of the things that the Cardinals understood, and they do a good job of it. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to work with everybody from the minor leagues to the major leagues and be able to show those types of things. And I'll go back to kind of what we talked about community-wise. It was important for me to help players understand, okay, if you're living in St. Louis, in order for you to really succeed in that type of environment, you must know who your community is, or what your city is like, or what type of environment that is. Same thing that goes for all the guys in the minor leagues. What are you walking into, and how can you better yourself in that situation? And the same thing goes for social media, right? That's one of the big things when we talk about having a voice today. And when we talk about being valued, that's a part of it. Having a voice, feeling like you're a part of a group. social media is a voice, right? So how do we best use that to show ourselves in a positive manner? Because we're not just reflecting ourselves, we're reflecting an organization.
Yeah. So you talk about, the organization piece. You worked within one organization. In terms of growing it, the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts throughout the league as a whole. Like, what do you think some of the biggest changes that could be done at a league level that might be able to, impact like the largest number of like adversely affected people? Like, what as a larger scale thing can be done?
Well, I think the first thing that we can do, and not even necessarily that large of a scale, I think I was the first former major league player that was a diversity consultant within any team. So I think, one, we should have an athlete that's played the game and has the background, has the knowledge, has done the work to get themselves in a credible position to be a consultant or be somebody in that position that those players can relate to, as well as people in the organization can relate to. Because I think it's one thing when you're almost learning from somebody that hasn't quite been in the same shoes as you, you're a little bit more receptive to it from the beginning with somebody that's been in those shoes. So I think that would help ease the conversation and start more of that conversation, and then bringing in as many people as possible that have the background, have studied diversity, equity, inclusion, have been in human resources, have the background with those types of things to help players and everybody in the organization understand what it's like to better themselves in that sense. So that's one of the things we can do. I think we can continue to understand that, how to break barriers, right? When we talk about cultural barriers, when we talk about the way we think about things, like everybody's from a different environment. Everybody comes from a different place. We have to understand sometimes those are barriers within our own self, and we have to knock those things down. And I think there's education that comes along with that. And I think that's one thing that we can do better is educate everybody involved.
Yeah. So you had brought up, community work and what we can do to understand the community. Can you explain some of the programs like the Dream Series and the RBI mound visits program?
Yeah, those are some amazing things that Major League Baseball is doing, even minor league baseball is doing. I love the RBI programs because you're going into these inner city communities that really a lot of times they don't have the resources that a lot of other cities have when you're talking about developing young people. And it's not just boys playing the game, it's young women and men that are both doing it. So it gives them an opportunity a lot of times to just show them what the game is, right? Just see what's cool about baseball, and we'll provide everything for you, right? And then it gives those kids an opportunity to, if they want to continue to play the game, they can play it at a higher scale. There's people that will help pay for those resources that they need. We know baseball is an expensive sport when it comes to equipment, when it comes to gloves, bats, batting gloves, all those types of things. So those programs help really develop young kids at a young age. So they don't have to think about the things that normally stop people from playing baseball.
Yeah, there's a place in St. Louis, and he was actually featured on a show from Mike Rowe. Basically, it was this guy who just has a shed full of sports equipment, and you can come and take whatever you need.
Wow.
Especially in, young kids, they grow so fast, sports like football and hockey that it requires pads. And like you mentioned, gloves and bats and helmets and everything. And basically it's just, you use it until you're done with it. You bring it back and then you can just get whatever you need. So wow. I wish I had the program off the top of my head, but yeah, he's a guy out of St. Louis, and, he's doing a lot of great work in that aspect too.
That's special.
They don't care about baseball in St. Louis. I don't believe that.
That's one of the ways that you grow the game, right? Like, I think a lot of times our conversations are around, like, how do we continue to grow this game? And I think there's so many things like that may seem small, but if we kind of collectively thought about those things, that continues to further those conversations, and it benefits young boys and girls.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the power of community, right? How, like, as a community, do we build each other up and further each other? Speaking of community and building community, so in baseball and sports in general, I feel like there's a lot of issues, racism, and all kinds of other stuff that have happened. And a lot of people are quick to point at like the league, the organizations, the players, the coaches, all that kind of stuff. But one piece that's often left out of the puzzle is the fans, and kind of like the fans' participation in creating a safe environment or an equitable environment. And I'm interested to hear your perspective as somebody who was a player and is now in like organizations. What is your perspective of the fans' role in creating a safe environment?
Yeah, that's a quality statement, because I haven't really heard of it kind of put that way. A lot of times we don't think so much about the fans in that sense, but they play a huge part, right? You're talking about so many people that support our game, and they're the ones that can make our game a really safe space, and along with making everybody feel like this is something good that everybody wants to be a part of. So I think that's an amazing point. Like as far as my experiences, I felt like, at least for me, I've been a part of so many great fan bases, and probably mostly because I was with the Cardinals organization, right? Like you talk about an amazing fan base. It's one of those fan bases that really gets it. But at the same time, there's always room for improvement, right? When we're talking about even marketing to other fan bases, when you're trying to bring other people into the game and watching more of our game and growing and loving our game, if we can hit some of these other markets, that can be really good too. Because I feel like there's always a way that we can touch the community, right? There's always areas that we haven't been to in the community in which we can really attract people towards our game. And I think that's one thing St. Louis has done, but we can always continue to do it better.
Yeah.
As the founder of Extraordinary Athletes, I too am also the founder, but I'm the founder of Unextraordinary and Very Dull People. But what does the future of Extraordinary Athletes look like, especially as now college baseball isn't affected near as much because of just the structure of baseball, but as NIL increases within even NCAA athletes, are you reaching out to those athletes who really are coming into a lot of money at the age of 18, 19, 20 years old and can really blow it if they just don't know how to act?
Yeah, no, that's one of our main priorities, right? Is to even start talking to these kids in college and let them know. And you mentioned NIL. A lot of times these kids know NIL can afford them opportunities to make money, but we want them to understand that in order for you to really create the brand that you want, you have to think long term. And you can't just think about, how am I going to make a quick dollar? How am I going to do a quick camp? How am I going to sell some quick apparel? No, how are you going to create something that people are going to stand behind? How are you going to create an audience and a fan base really behind who you are? And a lot of that is showing who you are as a person, right? And what you're about. And I think having young players understand that, young athletes understand that at a very, what can be an immature age is important, because everything that they do is going to be scrutinized for a long period of time. So if you can start to build a foundation for yourself, instead of worrying about, okay, making the quick dollar, no, how can I build a community around me that allows people to really get behind what I'm doing, not only as a player, but as a person? That's when I can make real impact and real change. So that's what Extraordinary Athletes is trying to do, is help those players understand, but then also help players understand that helps them with their transition after they're done playing, right? You don't all of a sudden lose all those followers and all those supporters. You still have those people behind you doing different things. Now, the same goes for me. Is I've seen it firsthand. I have a group of people, a community of people that have been behind me in my career, but not just playing. Now it's doing some media things and still within the game, whatever it may be, those people are still behind me. So I'm extremely grateful that I've seen it firsthand, and then I can pass it along to others.
Yeah. If you want to plug the social medias for Extraordinary Athlete, please do. You can give us the social handles if you want.
Yeah, it's just Extraordinary Athletes on Instagram, and then website xoathletes.com.
Great. So please go there, look at the great work Xavier's doing with Extraordinary Athletes. It's really important for these athletes, because like you said, there is a world after sports. I am currently realizing that I'm not too far out of college, and I know there is a world after sports. Not that I was any good to play sports in college, but
yeah, we know you weren't. I'm gonna make a joke that not very many people are gonna understand, but I'm gonna pull a Jim Edmonds and say I got a text. The name of that program was the St. Louis Youth Sports Outreach was the name of that program.
Okay.
That, like I said, they basically just
That's
recycle
amazing.
equipment. So thank you, Teresa, for texting me and let me know.
Yeah, thanks, Teresa, for letting us all know.
I bet Kara has another question, but I want to put the nerd into Nerd Life Network with Xavier while we still got him. And you're being very generous with your time. Thank you so much. But Kara, did you have any other questions before I get real nerdy baseball?
Like I said, I have a million questions, but I feel like it's just going to turn into like a 4-hour-long conversation about a bunch of great stuff. So go ahead.
So Xavier, I know Off Base is a new show on MLB Network, and I know you guys are going to be doing a bunch of different things. I saw some stuff you put on Instagram with Robert Flores and a bunch of other guys on the MLB Network earlier today. Like I said, I love, like, my favorite sport is baseball, and I'm under the age of 40, and to say I'm under 40 and my favorite sport is baseball is a very rare statement in today's world. What about the game of baseball are people not getting? Like, and I want to spur this off into a different question, but what about baseball is our generation not understanding that you think if they grasped it, we'd actually get new fans of the game?
Yeah, I think, it's all the intricacies of the game, like how cool it is. I think once you kind of learn more about which each player brings to the table, right? That's one thing that I think is hard for people to grasp is like when they're trying to watch a baseball game, they may not understand like the differences between a first baseman and an outfielder, or the difference between the guy batting first or the guy batting ninth, or what's the difference between a starting pitcher and a relief pitcher. So I think if people understood like the coolness within each position and what each person brings to the table, I think that's one of the things that people would be more attracted to. And I think that's what we're trying to do a little bit more with Off Base, is kind of show more of that personality side of those different players, right? I think that's one thing that we can always do a better job of, is marketing the players and the stories behind these players. I think I really feel like football and basketball do a really good job of this. And I think even from a social media sense, and I feel like baseball's always been a little bit of a step behind, maybe because it's like America's pastime and it's a really old school sport. And baseball players are really more the players that are not really want to put themselves out there because they play 162 games.
And the nature of the game is you're successful if you're successful 3 out of 10 times. Like,
yes, there's so much failure within the game. It's hard to really be like, I'm the man, right? I want you to see who I am. And really the game humbles you a lot. So, but I really see like kind of this next generation of ball players putting themselves out there more, being a little bit more looser, showing more passion, more energy. And I think that's a lot of what we can continue to highlight as a game. And I'm hoping that's what I get to do more of moving forward.
So spinning off of that, and then I will stop and let the other guys ask a question, but spinning off of that, is there a really nerdy advanced metric, whether it be like, I mean, you could even say the public needs to pay attention because this guy has so many social media followers or whatever. Like, who's the next big guy that people aren't paying attention to that you've got your eye on?
Oh, man.
And he probably plays in Tampa.
That's a that's a really good question, man. Yeah, I mean, one of the guys that I would have to say is, you said Tampa, like Wander Franco. Like, he's one of those guys that, only played 77 games last year. But when you talk about having all 5 tools, speed, power, the hit tool, playing defense, doing all those different types of things, like, there's not many players in our game that can do those types of things. And I think once you kind of see the athleticism of a lot of these young players coming up, I even think of like Harrison Bader. I think of a Tyler O'Neill. Like, these are special young players that are really taking over the game. And I think once people kind of understand, okay, our game is getting younger, it's getting more athletic, it's almost kind of going back in time a little bit. We're not there yet, but I think athleticism is starting to become more of a priority. then you start to see a little bit more of that excitement. I look at Bobby Witt Jr. over there in Kansas City. I look at Julio Rodriguez in the Mariners uniform. So there's so many good young players with the power speed combination that are coming to the forefront.
All right, so you're talking about how the game is getting younger. St. Louis Cardinals have 3 of the oldest players in Albert, Wainwright, and Molina. So as you know, it's Molina's last year, it's Albert's last year, and it's potentially Wainwright's last year. I mean, the guy's an absolute horse. So if he still puts up numbers like he did this year, that's going to be a conversation to be had later. What do you think the departure of Wainwright and potentially Wainwright and Molina, what is this going to mean for the Cardinals next year? I mean, these guys have been the backbone of this team for the last 15 years. And how do you think that Albert coming back this year is going to change that as well?
His name's Nolan Arenado, and he's going to carry him into the future.
I was going to say, like, first of all, it's going to be tough because you can't replace those guys, right? Like, those are staples. Like, you don't often have guys wearing the same jersey for close to whatever 20-some years, whatever it may be. Even Pujols coming back, you don't see that very often. A Hall of Fame player coming back to their original team. So let's not like just pass on the specialness of what that is. But secondly, like, you do have a young core that's coming up that's really exciting to watch. And I think, as much as you can't replace those guys, you got to be excited for the future, man. You got to be excited for Nolan Arenado. You got to be excited for Harrison Bader. You got to be excited for Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, and a lot of the young pitchers as well. Like, I'm excited for those guys to really step up and kind of continue to show that passion about the way they play the game. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, you don't replace those guys. It's tough.
Do you think Albert gets to 700?
I do think Albert gets to 700. I've been asked that a couple of times now. I think he does. Maybe it's me really wanting him to, but I really think he does. I think he's made some adjustments. He's got a leg kick going now.
He does, yeah.
And we saw the home run. Like, so if he continues to hit for power against those lefties, I think he's got a good opportunity. And they're playing him, right? He's been playing.
Yeah, I know he started opening day, and then I believe he was DH yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy to think that he's probably going to get a standing ovation every single game at home this year, just for fans that
he deserves
haven't seen him. Well, no, absolutely, and good for him to, he got a lot of flack 10 years ago when he left, but all that's gone now.
Yeah.
So everybody loves him again. They're all breaking out their jerseys they've had in the closet for the last 10 years.
Yeah. So one of our other co-hosts who couldn't be here tonight, he wanted to ask you. He's a new Memphis resident. He wants to know what some of your fondest memories playing with the Redbirds in the city of Memphis are.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite places. Like, just going to the field, and like the Memphis fans were really like passionate as well. It was one of those areas where I really felt at home because I spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, and I spent 2 years in Memphis. And then even when I played in New Orleans, I played against Memphis. So Memphis was always like home to me. That's where me and my wife, before we were married, that was the first place we like really lived together on the road. Like, Memphis was that spot. I love Memphis barbecue. Like, that'll be like one of my most fondest memories because like I'm a huge foodie, and like Memphis barbecue is like is where it's at too. So I just the food there, the people, the living close to what is it, Beale Street, like the city or the stadium's right next to Beale Street. A really special time for me and my wife, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jim's gonna love that. Who's got another?
Yeah,
one?
I have another question if we got some time.
Yeah.
Cool. So I heard you talk about a specific moment. I believe you were in college where you had a wake-up call where your coach played like a voicemail or something in front of your whole team.
Yes.
And that kind of changed your pathway and the trajectory of your life. I'm really interested to know if you have played that part in somebody else's story? Like, have you been able to pay that forward? Have you been able to have that kind of like a come to Jesus moment with some of the players that you've worked with or seen, or have you had another moment like that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that moment, like we all have these like moments that really wake you up, right? And I was really sleepwalking and really was just going through the motions. And it was a time in college where I felt invincible, and really somebody had to knock some sense into me, and it was my coach, and he helped me understand that I'm a leader. There's no reason for me to be calling myself a leader of a team and then doing things that don't show leadership, right? So for me, that's been one of the most dramatic things, and I don't think I've ever had any part in somebody else's life that's been as dramatic as that. But I think one of the things that I always try to help players and people understand in general is like, a lot of times in our society today, we get caught up in like trying to do stuff that other people are doing. Like we see this person, man, they look like they've got life under control. Like everything they're doing is great. Like I want to be doing that. But like I would try to remind guys like we have our own path. Like everybody is different. So we cannot expect to try to do something that somebody else does. Like we just have to be the best version of ourselves. And I think even as a father now, that's what I want my sons and my daughter to really understand is like, you don't have to be anybody else. Like today's social media age, like it's so easy to say this person has the life, right? Because they have a million good looking pictures. But no, everybody has their own path and just live life. Like the one thing I told a lot of Cardinals guys this last year with the DEI role is like everybody can make the impact on social media, right? Like you can put in your caption like, hey, I had a great time giving back to this community over here. Like everybody can do that, but who are the real people like out there affecting their community on a day-to-day basis, not even showing it on social media? So I tell them like, what if you didn't have social media? Like you wouldn't be able to show all the things that you're able to do. Just go do it, right? So I think that's one of the things that I try to think about and that I try to pass along is like, you know, you have your own path, and a part of your path is giving back and making sure that other people understand that you're there for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really strong message to send to people because, you know, the cliche is do the right thing even when no one's watching. So yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
So we are gonna go through here with some rapid fire questions. So we're gonna start you off.
Let's do it.
What are you a fan of any nerdy stuff? Marvel, DC, Star Wars, anime? What are your top fandoms?
Oh man, I love all that. I honestly love that stuff. Like when you talk about superheroes, like I'm all into superheroes today. Like I look at my kids, I'm glad that they've kind of got a grasp of like they love Spider-Man, they love the Hulk, they love Batman, they love like Marvel, DC, all that stuff. They love it. Like my son thinks he's Black Panther at a certain time when night hits. So there's like I'm glad that they like all those things because I get to sit and just like watch the movies with them over and over and over again. So that's really cool for me. And now it makes me want to go like into the comics. Like when I'm watching the movies and stuff, it makes me want to like actually dive into the comics and be like, man, how did all this stuff originate? Because we see all this stuff in a 2-hour movie, but it's like this stuff was written way back. So it makes me want to dive more into it when you talk more about like the superhero stuff. I love that.
You're just sitting here getting cooler by the minute. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? I was expecting you to be like, no, baseball's it.
Yeah.
Baseball
cards too. So I like that too.
Mark McGuire was in a comic book, wasn't he?
So, Anthony.
Sorry, that wasn't rapid. I know
No, that was an awesome answer. We love that.
We are all Marvel nerds, so that just spoke to all of us.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, this show itself being on the Nerd Life Network, I mean, Monday nights we've got a show dedicated to Marvel, Tuesday nights to comics and movie, Wednesdays to this, Sundays to Star Wars. So, I mean, yeah, we're all very fluent.
And
I used to
Thursdays
like Star Wars a lot. I got to get back into Star Wars because when I was younger, when I was like, I want to say like 14, 15, I would sit on the buses and watch the Star Wars, and then I kind of lost it, and I need to go back and like watch them all over again, get back into it.
Baby Yoda, man. That's all you need. Baby Yoda. But just subscribe to the Nerd Life Network, Xavier. We got you covered here.
And Kara, you can go ahead and plug your own show.
Oh, yes. Thank you. They left out Thursdays, which is Nerdy Girls After Dark, which is their female-led podcast.
Yes. That sounds amazing.
So send your wife over when she's
Yeah. I have some things to talk to your wife about, including the fact that she shot her shot through Facebook, because I met my fiance through the internet as well, through social media, and I took the first shot. So that was one of the things that I had to say. But
that's funny.
Brought it out.
Gosh. Yeah. So quick story. She was like in single A, nobody goes to the games. And there was two girls in the stands. And I'm like, man, one of those girls looks absolutely stunning. And after the game, I had a Facebook request. And I was like, you know what? Let me go. Wait, who is that? That's the girl from the game. So I had my roommates. I'm like, guys, that's the girl from the game. That's the girl from the game. And like I was all juiced up and jacked up, and I just wrote on her wall like, "Hey, pretty girl, do I know you?" And she was basically like she deleted the wall post and then DM'd me, and she's like, don't write on my wall or something like that.
Yes.
But really, we didn't meet each other for like 3 or 4 weeks. So we like met on Facebook and then kind of like FaceTimed and got to know each other a little bit before we even met. So it was kind of organic in that sense.
Yeah, it was about 4 weeks for us before we met in person. So
wow.
So kind of a similar story, except that it's my wife and she didn't end up leaving with the baseball player. We were in Seattle, and I believe it was 2017. And I can't pronounce his first name, but Tehran, the backup bullpen catcher for the Cardinals.
Okay, yeah.
We're out there watching batting practice, and my wife is a little bit intoxicated, trying to get a ball. So she's screaming his last name, and she's doing the heart hands to him, and just doing it, screaming his name, and he finally turns and throws her a ball. And then about 2 years ago, I was at a game and I bought her one of his jerseys, the team issue jerseys from the team store, and got it to her. So now, and she ended up friending him on Facebook, and he's probably like, I don't know who this lady is or why she's friending me on Facebook.
That's really cool.
She's got her own little crush that nobody knows about.
Yeah. That's significant.
Yeah.
Now Xavier Scruggs knows about it.
Yeah, so a couple more rapid fire questions. If you could have a walk-up song today, what would it be?
Walk-up song today? Man.
What was your walk-up song when you were playing?
My walk-up song was Just Do It by KB, Christian rapper. And I would probably have the same walk-up song because it kind of just reminded me, like, even if I was like 0 for my last 10 or whatever it may be, even if I was 5 for my last 5, like, just go up there and do it. Like, everything is like right in front of you. Don't worry about what happened in the past. Don't worry about the future. Like, just go out there and you're blessed to be in this position to even be on the field. So just go do it. And it just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah. Awesome. If you didn't have a career in baseball, what would you want to do?
If I didn't have a career in baseball, I would want to
be on the radio or MLB Network.
Yeah, see, like I'm doing like what I wouldn't like if I wasn't playing, but like I always thought about like being a teacher. Like, excuse me. Like I had some really good teachers that were like really good influences in my life. So I feel like that would be something cool for me to do, to be able to like teach multiple kids within one time. Like no matter what the subject would be, like I would always be like pouring into them just about like life in general. So I think that would be a cool opportunity.
Awesome. What players did you really follow growing up? Were your role models? Like who was the players that inspired you to be a player?
Oh yeah. First and foremost, I grew up in San Diego watching the Padres, Tony Gwynn. Got a chance to meet Tony Gwynn when I was younger. Probably, I think I was 12 when I first met Tony Gwynn. Loved his game, loved the smoothness of his swing. He didn't strike out much. Always talked about working off the tee. So I always try to like do those types of things. And then I wanted to go to San Diego State. He was a coach at San Diego State. I wanted to go there. They didn't recruit me. So I went to UNLV, played against San Diego State. We were in the same division and like talked to him. He was like still a mentor. He mentioned that I was one of the best college hitters that he's ever seen. So like just Tony Gwynn, like having that presence in my life was really cool. David Justice was another guy. And Gary Sheffield. I loved Gary Sheffield's swing, like the way he attacked the baseball. That was one of the guys that I loved to watch too.
Did you wiggle your bat like Gary Sheffield?
Oh yeah, all the time, man, all the time.
Didn't everybody?
Yeah,
playing wiffle ball,
especially in the backyard. Yeah, wiffle ball in the backyard. I was doing that 100%.
So we know you're working for the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Are they your favorite team to watch, or do you have another team that you really like to watch as well?
Oh man, my favorite team to watch. There's a bunch of them. St. Louis is up there just because of the versatility they have within a team in a 1 through 9 lineup and the defense they play. 5 Gold Glovers, like come on, you don't see that anywhere.
Wicked.
Tampa Bay is up there. The Padres are up there too, especially when Fernando Tatis is on the field. That's one of the teams that I love to watch. And then the Blue Jays this year. I'm excited to see what they do.
So my question goes from that. Why would the Colorado Rockies trade away Nolan Arenado, pick up the $50 million, and then sign Chris Bryant for another $182 million? No, I'm just kidding. Who wins the World Series, Xavier?
Yeah, I was
really
gonna say
bitter about that guy.
I was gonna say nobody has the answer to that. So
nobody, not
the
even
guy
the
that
people.
does resigned 2 weeks after he did it.
Oh, it's just the worst. But who wins the World Series? And please don't say the Dodgers.
Oh no, the Dodgers don't win it.
My man.
I honestly think that the Braves could repeat. Like, I think this is a team that really has like not just the stars, but like every specific part of a team that you need to be good, whether it be defense, offense, pitching, like especially relief pitching. They took the Dodgers closer in Kenley Jensen. So I mean, there's so many. So they were already good, and then I feel like they got maybe better if they could. So I think there's a team that could repeat.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of us picked the Blue Jays last week, which you talked about. Really fun team, just a bunch of kids of guys we all know. So
yeah, I really do. The only problem I think I got with the Blue Jays is like the division is going to be extremely tough to come out of, and I think it's going to weigh a lot on starting pitching, and I don't think necessarily the starting pitching is going to be as good as we can expect. Hyun-Jin Ryu is like really struggling to me. He has had some issues. Barrios has been inconsistent as of in the past. I love Alek Manoah. Can't say anything about him. Gossman now, like it was cool in the NL West when you're facing the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, but now you got like a tougher division.
Catching
so
strays out here. Catching strays.
So, but we'll see, man. They're definitely going to be a good team.
Yeah.
My year to get into more sports, more baseball. I'm in the Toronto area, so I try to go once a year. Maybe this year I'll go twice.
I just came back from seeing the beginning of the Toronto and Yankees game. I was at Yankee Stadium just now.
Nice.
Yeah, when
that
Junior
makes us feel bad.
We were not at Yankee Stadium a while ago. Brian, you're not too far from it, are you?
Yeah, I'm not too close. I'm in Queens, right around Queens over here, so not too far from the Bronx. But
nice.
Xavier, this has been really, really awesome. We thank you so much for your time. If you have time to hang around for one more small segment, we do a trivia segment here called the Infinity Gauntlet. We do one trivia question. We'd love to have you on the panel for our question if you have some time.
Oh geez. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of scared. Do I have to answer the question?
I don't even think it's baseball related, so
it's
you're
not
good, man. You could just flex your sports knowledge if you have it.
Okay.
All right, so Brian, roll our clip.
Are you gonna roll the clip, Brian?
I thought I did.
Oh, you didn't. You're nailing it.
So, the segment's called the Infinity Gauntlet after Thanos. It's
I've been
supposed to be
talking into this microphone the entire interview, and it hasn't even been on.
So, tonight's Infinity Gauntlet question. There are 5 countries and cities that have hosted both the Summer and Winter Olympics. Name the 5 countries and the 5 cities.
Nope.
Go.
The United States and Atlanta and Salt Lake City. Like, is that an answer?
So they've hosted the Summer and Winter Olympics.
The country or the city has also hosted
The country and the city has hosted both.
Wow.
Okay, you're just making things up at this point.
Beijing, China.
That is one of them.
Wow.
So 4 more. Say that.
Nope, we got one.
Sochi, Russia.
No.
London, England.
London is a 3-time host.
Sydney, Australia.
Why would they
No.
host the Winter Olympics?
Seoul, Korea.
South Korea is not an answer. There are 3 left. I'll give you a hint. All of them are in Europe.
I was
Okay,
going to say Lillehammer.
Canada's one.
Where's Lillehammer? Did they host?
That is not an answer.
They're all
I'll give
in
you
Europe.
another 15 to 20 seconds.
Paris.
Paris is not an
Athens,
answer.
Greece.
Athens, Greece is number 3.
Yeah.
2 points for me. If anybody keeps
Berlin, Germany.
Berlin, Germany is not an answer. There are 2 left.
Moscow.
10, 9,
Lisbon.
I'm
8,
stumped.
7,
Dublin.
6, 5, 4,
Barcelona.
3, 2, 1.
Barcelona.
Barcelona is
The
not.
2 that you missed are Innsbruck, Austria, and St. Moritz, Switzerland.
You're not in charge of these questions anymore.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Well, the important thing is that I won that.
So, shocking that the one who has been to Europe
Yes.
got the answer for the European
Finally
questions.
comes around.
Well, Athens, Greece. We should all got that.
Yeah,
one.
everybody should
Yeah.
go.
So,
Xavier just pouring on her fire a little bit.
Xavier, this was amazing. You were more than generous with your time. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to give you the opportunity now to plug anything you need to plug, your social, the Extraordinary Athletes, whatever you want to plug. Please take this time to do so.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. Extraordinary Athletes, exoathletes.com. Come check us out. Can check me out on Xavier_Scruggs on all the platforms. You even got the TikTok going. But yeah, like if you get a chance, just I try to do a good job of showing people like my journey and kind of what I go through on a day-to-day basis. And everybody's been super supportive. So appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you. You've always been out there grinding. You know, I told these guys, I remember watching you do like Facebook Live videos just to anybody who would want to watch, answering questions and whatnot. So you've always been out there doing it. And you made it, man. So
I
congratulations.
appreciate that, man.
Side question:
Appreciate it.
when do you want to play against me in the show 22?
Oh man, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
We'll stream that. We'll stream that live because that'll be way more competitive than if I play Anthony.
That's
The last time I played
that's what
him-
I need is a Twitch too. I need to get on Twitch. Like that's
Yeah,
where
there
you
we
guys
go.
have been streaming.
Yeah.
There we go. That's next. We got our,
Yeah.
we got our Friday nights, Brian. It's just going to be Xavier and I on Twitch playing MLB The Show.
Let's do it.
The last time I played Anthony, I think it was 17-3. So I don't play him on the show
Why do
anymore.
you even play at that point?
Yeah, it was terrible. He swings at everything. And I think he only got the 3 because it was the first time I had played, and the defense was a little shaky.
Yeah, and
It was on the PS5, so I was like, okay, what are the controls again?
and I had been playing for like 10 hours straight for 5 days straight and still only scored 3 runs.
That's funny.
But Kara, Brian, you have anything for Xavier before?
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was awesome. So
right.
Cool. That was awesome. We just want to say thank you again to Xavier. That was amazing interview, amazing insight he had for us on diversity, equity, and inclusion in sports, and just on the game of baseball. And he's a really cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
I was very excited about it. I didn't even turn my microphone on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that Infinity Gauntlet segment, but Your microphone was on. We heard your questions.
Run from it.
There it is.
There it is.
Destiny arrives all the same.
Even
I'm an idiot.
even though we didn't get that going, it was just awesome. So again, thank you so much.
I love how he called out your Rockies too.
I
You got to be used to it.
Oh, I'm so used to it. They're 4-1 though, man.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Will they lose opening day against the Dodgers? And
Yep.
then they win every other game?
Yep.
Wow.
Kara, are you going to stick around and talk sports with us, or are you just going to back into the shadows?
We just see, she just slowly drifts out of frame.
Just because I probably don't have a ton to add if it's like sports, and not like the psychology of sports.
Kara, Russell Wilson has been traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts?
Oh my goodness. Well, the whole thing was there's been rumors about him leaving for a long time. And then he came out and was like, I have no intention of leaving. And I was like, okay, we've got like another year, maybe 2 years. And then bam, betrayal. So that hurt a little bit.
I found his house up for sale on the internet yesterday. I'll send it to you. It is
The weirdest, can I tell you the weirdest part though, is seeing him and Sierra in Denver gear instead of Seattle. Like she switched so fast, which makes a lot of sense.
Weren't they part
But
owners
it just
of the
like
Sounders?
it hurt a little bit to see that. Not as much as Bobby Wagner leaving Seattle. I think that probably hurts a little bit more, but
a small secret about the sports world, Kara. We care way more than they do.
yes, I care a lot. So
Aren't they co-owners of the Sounders?
Probably.
That sounds right.
And then they just leave. I know Macklemore is.
You look
my
like
boy. That's
you
my
do
boy.
look like Macklemore.
It's a compliment.
Oh my gosh. What
All right, Ryan. I think Kara's going to bow out, so I will remove her. Thank you, Kara.
Yeah, thank you, Kara.
Thanks, Kara.
We really appreciate
Okay.
you. All right. So we are going to talk. We'll continue with baseball. We got a couple things on the agenda. Anthony Nolan Arenado wins NL Player of the Week. Bregman wins AL Player of the Week.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, pre-show, I screwed the two of them up. I put them in the wrong league, and I got flack for that. Tell us about this first week of the MLB season and about these players winning.
Dude, Arenado's locked in. I mean, he 3 home runs, 4 RBI or 9 RBIs, hitting 500. Sorry, Brian.
It's cool. Good for him.
It's the saddest. That's cool.
No,
thing I've ever heard.
I really want him to succeed. Just bury the guy. Like I love Nolan Arenado, and everybody blames the Coors Field effect. I really wanted to ask Xavier about the Coors Field effect, but I didn't. Next time, baby.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
I wonder if, and I'm hoping he sticks around because I think he has an opt out at the end of this year. I believe.
No, he already opted in. It was the opt out was last year, so he opted into like 5 more.
Oh, I thought there was another one.
Yeah, this is on a Carlos Correa
I was
contract.
about to say, it's not a Correa contract.
No, it was just an opt out after 3, which was the end of last year. So he's opted in for like the next 5.
Dope.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I was worried once Molina left, he'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore. But honestly, he's going to be the face of the organization after this year. So
I'm going to confirm that I'm correct, but we should probably just not go live for the rest of the show, and so we can have our normal conversation because I don't think people are going to be that interested.
Yeah, I mean, we only have a couple more things. It's not going to take very long. We have about 4 more things on the agenda. We'll talk about Evgeny Malkin from the Pittsburgh Penguins was suspended for 4 games for cross-checking the face of Predators defenseman Mark Borowiecki. That was brutal. Dude's leaking from his face, and Malkin's out there like, what did I do? You cross-check the dude in the face. Like, Malkin has a mean streak. They played against the Rangers last week, and there was almost a brawl at center ice after the game. What do you have on this, on Evgeny Malkin?
I have that Nolan Arenado has a player opt-out available after 2021 and 2022, so he does have an opt-out available after this season.
I thought he had the first 2 years, which is why, like I said, I was nervous that after Molina was done, he was also going to leave because I don't know what this team's going to look like.
He would also have to opt out of $35 million a year. So,
woof, that's nothing. That's chump change for these guys.
I don't think he'll do it. Evgeny Malkin, I didn't. Yeah, I mean,
he looks like he's been cross-checked in the face a few times.
Yeah, he does.
That dude looks rough.
So that was a really bad hit. Yeah, that hurts also the Penguins because they have 9 games left, and Malkin will miss half of them. So that's a tough blow to their offense.
They're a really hard team to feel bad for, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't quite feel bad for them either, especially since they'll probably be the Rangers' first-round opponent. Sticking with the Penguins, it was announced today that the Penguins are going to be playing the Bruins at Fenway Park in the Winter Classic this year. It's the second time the game will be hosted at Fenway. It seems like the NHL just picks the same teams over and over again, the Penguins and the Bruins, and
at this point, not even the same teams, the same location. Like,
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
it's Fenway, of course, dude. It's friggin' awesome.
Well, that's fine, but there's definitely other places that could, like, closer to St. Louis.
Yeah, the Boston area has now hosted 3 times. They hosted once at Gillette Stadium and now twice at Fenway. They've had the most Winter Classics of the Penguins.
You're telling me, Brian, you don't want to go see? Is it Mile High Stadium?
No, the Avs have played a couple of Stadium Series games. They played Winter Classic against the Red Wings at Coors Field, where the Rockies play, and then they played at the Air Force Academy a couple years ago. That game was awesome, and traffic was an absolute nightmare. So I don't think they'll ever do that again.
I think I heard about that actually.
There's outdoor games they can play, but like you're at Fenway Park, people care about the Bruins. Like people care about the original 6, man. Like it's what the NHL is going to do. Yeah. Like, where would the Rangers play? Like,
I was just bitter because I thought the Rangers were going to end up being the opponents, so I just pissed that it's the Penguins.
Yeah, there you go. Would you have gone to Fenway you would have gone, right? Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely would have been there. So
he'd be in line for tickets right now.
Yeah, I would have canceled the show tonight. So we're going to talk about Scotty Scheffler winning the Masters this year. This dude has been on an absolute tear this year. He won 4 events leading into the Masters, and then he goes out and wins it. He just played incredible the entire tournament. Brian, I know you like golf a little bit. What do we got on Scheffler?
Oh, I was locked in on the Masters, man. I saw Scotty win his second tournament of those 4 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill here in Orlando. He's just locked in, man. He won 4 events in 57 days. He went from world number 8 to world number 1. He won $8.7 million in 57 days. Like, he's doing just fine for himself, but he was locked in. But I'm far more interested. Did you guys see the 4-putt on the 18th green and the betting odds that
did I ever?
So the bet in Vegas was winner would be 10.5, like over or under 10.5 par. Had he made his 3rd putt, he would have shot a 277, and all those people would have cashed that bet. But because he missed that last little putt, everybody missed that last bet because he ended up shooting a 278, and like millions and millions of dollars changed hand in Vegas because of it. And there's a big conspiracy now, and it's awesome. But Scotty Scheffler is playing really, really, really good golf, and I think he's probably going to take a little bit of time off. Tiger looked okay in the first couple of days. He shot 78 in rounds 3 and 4, but it was just good to have him back out there. And then our buddy Max Homa, or my buddy Max Homa, didn't shoot too well in rounds 3 or 4 either, but he made the cut, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's so impressive that Tiger even made the cut, considering that, the reports were that he was like limping around the field because he literally just couldn't put the strength in his legs.
Well, and Spieth and Koepka and DeChambeau and guys like that didn't make the cut either, and Tiger still did. So
that just shows how dominant of a golfer he is. Like, even injured, he's still one of the best golfers in the world.
So 15 years.
Congrats to Scotty Scheffler for winning. Congrats to Tiger on his return. We're gonna get a little serious here for a minute. We just want to send our condolences to the friends, family, and teammates of Dwayne Haskins. He passed away this past week at the age of 24 after being in an accident. It's just really an extremely awful thing that happened to him. I mean, that should not have happened to somebody so young. It shouldn't happen to anybody, but he was on the Steelers, he was on the Commanders, he was on Ohio State, he was quarterback for Ohio State. So we just want to send our condolences out to friends, family, and teammates of Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, that's tough. Life's not supposed to go that way.
No, it's awful. But it's tough. There's no real way to transition out of that. So I guess we'll move on to the final segment, the Bruce Banner bandwagon. Try to
I
put some
know, it's
positivity.
crazy. Either it's all a joke or none of it is. Best of both worlds. Hulk out! Listen to your mom.
Brian,
Did you hear it that time?
I did.
All right.
Brian, you're starting us off with the bandwagon. Who you jumping on? Who you jumping off?
I'm on the Xavier Scruggs bandwagon. Tune in to MLB Network Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to watch Off Base. That guy is a personality. He's a lot of fun. He should not have given us the time of day, and he could not have been more gracious with his time. I am all in on Xavier Scruggs.
And anyone you're jumping off?
I'm jumping off of the New Jersey Net. Man, holy crap, they haven't been that for a long time. I'm jumping off the Brooklyn Nets. They will lose to the Boston Celtics. Even though Robert Williams won't be back for the Celtics, I think they can beat the Nets. But if they can not care about the entire regular season and then go into the playoffs and win, the NBA is broken. But I don't think the Nets are going to be able to pull it off. So I'm going to jump off the Nets bandwagon while I have the chance before they bury me.
So you jump off the Celtics bandwagon last week, but now you're jumping off the bandwagon of the team they're playing in the first round.
Right. But I mean, I'm jumping off the Celtics bandwagon of they're not going to win the East. I just think they're going to win their first round series and then lose the next one.
All right. That's fair. Anthony, give us some bandwagons.
All right. I am jumping on the Nerd Life Network bandwagon. Brian, I didn't think you were going to be able to pull it off, buddy. I just thought it was going to crash and burn. But here we are, having guests and everything.
because of who?
You are shooting daggers at me. Don't worry about who. No, man, this whole network's been a lot of fun. You know, all the shows that we've got going on. So yeah, I'm jumping on that network, trying to get as many subscribers as we can, as many views. I think our 149 is that what we were up to?
Yep.
For Monday night's episode on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos.
Yep.
Everybody check that out. I'm jumping off of the let's go Minnesota Twins bandwagon.
Yeah.
I'm jumping off. They had a lot of potential, and I think they started the season 2 for 4. So I saw a play last night against the Dodgers, turned the game on when it was 1-1, and did not look great.
Why are we letting position players pitch so much?
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask Xavier, because he played with D. Gordon in Baltimore. I wanted to ask if anybody's reached out to him, because he has got to be just shaken after hitting Darno the way that he did in the shoulder.
52 miles an hour. Also, what is with the back of D. Gordon's jersey? Like his name completely arched over the back of it, and it gave me anxiety.
His name is D. Strange Gordon. I don't know when that started.
Does the D stand for doctor?
I mean, the D stands for DEE as his first name. But then it says
Strange Gordon, man. I had to shoot my shot.
I got it.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
That's our awkward transition.
But yeah, that jersey, man, that doesn't even look like it's comfortable.
No, it's awful.
Yeah. So I am jumping on the bandwagon of Logan Dominic. He is a 6-year-old cosplayer from that we talked about on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos. He will be on the show next week.
Your show's about to look very different, but this is why.
So we want to send Logan to MegaCon. There's details on his Instagram at Logan Dominic Cosplay. This kid's just awesome. Like, look at all of the awesome cosplay he's done at Marvel premieres, just in general. Like, we want to send him to MegaCon or help send him to MegaCon. So, follow him on Instagram, and that's awesome. The kid's great. He will be on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos next week. So tune in next Monday for a conversation between Jax and Logan. The bandwagon I'm jumping off is I am jumping off of the Houston Astros City Edition jersey.
Thank you.
I love it.
I can't stand it.
I love it.
I thought
the Astros, for the record. I love the jersey.
I thought I liked it when it first came out, and then I looked at it more and more, and I'm just like, yeah, this is hot garbage. This is just
That looks
garbage.
terrible. I cannot stand it. Hey, Brian, do me a favor. On Monday night's episode, ask Robert what he thinks about it. I know he doesn't work too far from Astro Stadium, Minute Life. What's it called? Is this in Minute Life Park?
Minute Maid, I think.
Minute Maid, yeah.
Minute Maid, Minute Life, whatever.
So
Minute Life. Well, that's Minute Life is not a brand, and Minute Maid is.
Shut up.
So, yeah, that's the bandwagon I'm jumping off. Anyone got anything else?
I like it.
Yeah.
That's just.
I don't like the Astros. They can go 0-162, but
the hat's fine. But I don't like
the jersey's sick. I like
just like what's that weird like?
It looks NASA. It's NASA font, baby.
No, not the font. The weird like bar behind the font, like that's
just future. Well, that's just the world of patching and stuff, man. Like,
figure it out, Houston.
Yeah,
they got enough money.
Looks like they took it out of the trash can they've been banging for the last couple years. All right, so that's gonna be our show. Brian, what do you have to plug for this week?
Like you said, Frankly Built from YouTube, Instagram, anywhere, social media, TikTok. He was on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos talking Moon Knight and the world of 3D printing and cosplay. Logan Dominic will be on with me and my kid Jax talking about how cool it was to meet Oscar Isaac at the Moon Knight premiere. Babu's freaking podcast still a bit on a bit of a hiatus, but to be coming out of it relatively soon, just in time for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars Celebration.
And I just had George Lucas on the horn too.
Well, if you get George Lucas, he can come talk to me. But yeah, no, like beyond that, we've got Comics and Cinema on Tuesdays, Agents of Field on some Wednesdays like tonight, and then the Nerdy Girls After Dark on Thursdays, including tomorrow night at 8:30, talking about love languages, whatever that can possibly mean.
Anthony, what do you have to plug? Anything?
Everything that Brian just said, along with go follow Xavier Scruggs on anything and everything you can. That dude's a real one. So
yeah,
go support him.
Absolutely. Again, we just really want to thank Xavier for joining us tonight. It was awesome. We also want to thank Kara for joining us. Like, she had some great insight, and her and Xavier, had some really good conversation as well. Follow the Agents of Field podcast on Instagram at Agents of Field Podcast, and then on Twitter at Podcast AOF. So thank you so much for joining us on episode 4 of Agents of Field. We will see you next time.
I am a peacock! You gotta let me fly!